You.
On digital, absolutely everywhere.
We don't talk down to you.
We embrace all voices with honest and civilised conversation.
We are not part of the establishment.
We're one of you.
And we're only getting started.
Join us on GB News,
The People's Channel.
Britain's news channel. Hi there, it's Stephen and Anne.
At breakfast from 6 a.m, you'll always be caught up with everything you need to know. The latest headlines, opinions and debates.
We'll bring you the good news and the bad, but most of all, we're here for you.
Remember, send in your views and let us know what you would like us to talk about.
That's because we're your news channel. And every morning at 6 a.m, it's breakfast on GB News.
My name's Tom Harwood and join me 9:30 a.m. every weekday for The Briefing, your one-stop shop for everything you need to know about what's going on in politics today.
I wonder if this is a deal that might need to be like the biscuits in this factory, twice baked.
Is there not an opportunity here to win out against the extremes?
Tom Harwood, GB News.
What are you going to do about it?
Things should have been done differently, and they certainly are being done differently.
Don't miss it. The Briefing with me, Tom Harwood, 9:30 Monday to Friday on GB News.
Where would you like to go?
Just take me to the studio, please, mate. You know where you're going. I've got a show to do. Friday Night Feast on GB News, 7 p.m. And it's like nothing you've ever seen before. We take a different angle on the week's biggest news stories. The viewers and listeners set me some absolutely mad challenges to do. We tried to rehome a rescue dog. And yes, there's some other wacky stuff in there as well. I feel like I could take on the world. Well, that's that. Friday Night Feast with me, Patrick Christie's, every Friday, 7 till 9 p.m. on GB News. Be there. Gentlemen, Patrick Christie's here in for the big man Nigel Farage, and with you all the way through until 8 p.m. And we're following up on that massive Migrant hotel exclusive that we did last night. We've got a reporter there at the scene, so fingers crossed we're going to go over to them. Also, why do we treat our veterans so appallingly in this country? We've got thousands of them lining the streets, and yet we've got hotel rooms for people who come here illegally in a dinghy. I'll never be able to understand that. We've got the strikes latest as well, and, ladies and gentlemen, we've even got a mind reader. What's not to love? Here's your news.
Good evening, I'm Olivia Guthrie. Our top stories tonight. Chancellor Nadhim Zahawi and former Health Secretary Jeremy Hunt have been knocked out of the race to replace Boris Johnson. The candidates to become the next Tory leader have been whittled down from 8 to 6. Former Chancellor Rishi Sunak and Trade Minister Penny Mordaunt won the most votes. The others still in the running are Tom Tugendhat, Liz Truss, Suella Braverman and Kemi Badenoch. Sir Graham Brady announced the results an hour ago.
Under the rules that we agreed for this ballot, 2 candidates will be eliminated, Jeremy Hunt and Nadhim Zahawi. The others are all able to go forward to the second ballot, which takes place tomorrow.
Sir Graham Brady earlier this evening. Now, new figures show more than 200,000 people in the UK have had COVID-19 recorded on their death certificate since the pandemic began. The grim milestone was reached a few weeks ago amid a surge of cases in the UK this summer. The ONS says the highly transmissible Omicron subvariant, BA2, now accounts for most of the new cases. The latest figures say about 2.7 million people are thought to be currently infected. Rail operators and workers at Network Rail have voted to strike on July the 27th. The 24-hour walkout will start at 2 a.m. It's over pay, jobs and conditions. The RMT union rejected an offer made by Network Rail, saying it represents a real-term pay cut for its members. Unions held 3 strikes last month, which caused travel disruption across the country. The UK economy grew by 0.5% in May, following a 0.2% drop in April. That's according to official figures. Analysts had expected the figure to remain flat. The Office for National Statistics says the growth came after a bounce back across all services, manufacturing and construction, with a notable increase in demand for health services and holidays. Economics commentator Laurie Laird told GB News a recession isn't likely.
So there was one anomaly, which is our going to the GP more often, that kept us in the black this month around. But because May was so strong, it looks like we will probably not contract in the second quarter. So it means that this talk of recession is still some way off.
A French government report has found Liverpool fans were unfairly blamed for the chaos at the Champions League final in May. Police fired tear gas at fans after some were accused of trying to use fake tickets to gain entry into the stadium. The report says authorities must learn lessons and apply them to the hosting of next year's Rugby World Cup and the 2024 Olympic Games. Figures obtained by GB News show more than 14,000 migrants have crossed the Channel so far this year in small boats. 4 men have been arrested in a National Crime Agency operation targeting people smugglers in the UK. A man was arrested in Dagenham on suspicion of facilitation offences, as well as 3 further men in Ilford, Streatham and Leytonstone. The arrests are linked to 2 separate events in 2019, where a total of 32 migrants were found in the back of lorries in the Netherlands and France. And an amber weather warning for extreme heat has been issued across parts of England and Wales from Sunday. Ambulances have been put on the highest level of alert. The Met Office is advising everyone to be careful, not just those who are most vulnerable to the heat. TV, online and DAB+ radio. This is GB News. Now it's back to Patrick.
Yes, good evening, everybody. Patrick Christie's here in for the man himself, Nigel Farage. I'm with you for the next hour. Let's get stuck right in. Yesterday, we did a big exclusive on asylum seeker hotels, specifically one in Essex, and it got me thinking, why do we treat people from other countries better than we treat people who have fought for this country? So I'm calling for veterans' hotels. That's right. There are roughly 7,000 homeless military veterans at the moment. Many of them suffer with PTSD and other mental health issues, as well as a result of witnessing the abject horrors of war. Many have physical injuries as well. Isn't it strange that we can have thousands of people that we've asked to do the most dangerous job in the world, for not that much money, by the way, who are now homeless, who are in need of genuine care, but will pay millions of pounds a day to house people often coming from countries that we've been to war with, in nice hotels where they can get medical attention and 3 square meals a day. It doesn't make sense to me, that. There are loads of veterans in this country who are now in such a bad way that they could never even make the journey across Europe. They could never even afford to pay a people smuggler to get them in a boat, and yet we keep giving accommodation to these so-called asylum seekers instead of our very own war heroes. And on top of that, we have a state broadcaster, the BBC, of course, that, from where I'm sitting, actually seems to hate Britain. Not content with rampant left-wing bias and pro-EU bias, it appears that the BBC is now acting like Jeremy Corbyn, always on the side of our enemies. There was a documentary put out last night that basically accused the SAS of war crimes in Afghanistan. They used very spurious evidence and even included footage of what was actually the Australian SAS instead of ours. The documentary relied almost entirely on testimony from the enemy as well, but one could be forgiven, maybe, for thinking the BBC was more willing to take the side of the Taliban than our brave veterans. But having said that, I suppose what level of investigative journalism should we really expect from a company that allowed Britain's worst ever paedophile to operate right under their noses for decades and let Martin Bashir lie to Diana? Right, well, get in touch. Those are my views. Of course they are. I want to hear from you. Farage at gbnews.uk. You can tweet us as well using that hashtag Farage on GB News. We're going to be returning to that throughout the show, ladies and gentlemen. We've got a former member of the SAS who'll be joining us to basically, I suppose, reveal some home truths to the BBC about what it's like to be in the SAS and, indeed, the conduct of our brave veterans. But I want to hear from you. That email address again, farage@gbnews.uk. You can tweet us at GB News and, of course, use the hashtag Farage on GB News. And the thing I want to ask you is, do you think we treat our veterans well enough? Should there be veterans' hotels? OK, we're going to be returning to your answers and, indeed, a former member of the SAS very, very shortly. But the field is narrowing now in the race to replace Boris Johnson, isn't it? Tonight, former Health Secretary Jeremy Hunt, important you get that name right or you get sacked, and Chancellor Nadhim Zahawi are now out of the running. Both failed to reach the threshold of support. That was 30 votes, by the way. They received only 18 and 25, respectively. So, what does that mean? Well, it leaves 6 candidates battling for the leadership. Former Chancellor Rishi Sunak is still on top with 88 votes, followed by party members Penny Mordaunt with Liz Truss as well receiving 50, Kemi Badenoch on 40, Tom Tugendhat on 37 and Suella Braverman as well. She just eked over the line, didn't she, on 32. Now, Tory MPs will vote again tomorrow, but GB News' political editor Darren McCaffrey joins me now live from Westminster. Darren, this is like political Glastonbury, isn't it, what's going on at the minute? What's the very latest, please?
Well, with the music in the background, you could be right calling it Glastonbury. I like to think more like the X Factor, in the sense we are eliminating them round by round. And maybe tonight, when you look at the result, perhaps unsurprising, given the fact that Nadhim Zahawi and Jeremy Hunt just got over the threshold, we think, yesterday to get on the ballot. They now are out of the race. The current Chancellor suggesting at the moment he's going to keep his powder dry and who he might back. Jeremy Hunt also hasn't announced who he and his maybe 17, 18 MPs will fall behind, but it could well be Penny Mordaunt, considering she helped him out in the 2019 campaign. It's said that the big issue tonight here at Westminster, Patrick, or the big kind of rumours are about what's going to happen to that vote on the right, because as you've seen, Liz Truss is very much still in the race, though at 50 MPs she's not doing quite as well as some of the supporters may well have hoped, and that is because Suella Braverman, the Attorney General, and indeed Kemi Badenoch essentially are splitting that vote somewhat on the right, and there are suggestions that maybe one or two of those candidates drop out and pile their support behind Liz Truss to try and ensure that she's in the final two, because it is a real battle now about who is going to end up in that final two. The perceived wisdom up until this afternoon is that it was going to be Rishi Sunak. He's clearly in the lead at the moment, and it will be a battle between Liz Truss and Penny Mordaunt, who launched her campaign today in that second place. But there are suggestions that actually Rishi Sunak's campaign is somewhat stalling, and if the right can work this out properly, that Liz Truss could end up in the final two alongside Penny Mordaunt. But it is at the moment the momentum behind Penny Mordaunt. She launched her campaign today. She's clearly doing very, very well with MPs, and while she's not massively widely known with members of the public, she's doing pretty well in terms of polls of the membership. Ultimately, in the end, Patrick, of course, it will be them who decide who wins. A poll today suggested that she is the front runner among those members, and also that she would beat every single candidate in a runoff. That's how popular she is. Her supporters think that she can do it. We're going to have to wait and see. The second round is tomorrow lunchtime, and then we're going to get rid of at least another candidate. It looks likely that this contest is going to extend into next week before it goes to the membership over the summer.
Darren McCaffrey, thank you very, very much. And well done for shouting over the music there as well. GB News political editor Darren McCaffrey from Westminster. Well, I'm joined in the studio now by former Conservative MP Neil Parish. Neil, how are you?
I'm OK. Yesterday I was turning hay in Somerset, and now I'm back here talking to you tonight. So it's a sort of strange combination at the moment. OK,
fair enough. All right, well, I won't make the joke. So who are you? Sorry, I couldn't resist. So who are you backing then?
I think if I was, voting MP at the moment, I'd probably back Rishi Sunak. Penny Mordaunt's pushing hard.
Yeah.
Lots of ladies coming, or women coming through. I get told off for calling them ladies, but I don't mean anything derogatory. It's a compliment. I think it's a really interesting race. You've got Jacob Rees-Mogg going out saying, trying to say that Rishi was a socialist. Well, the trouble was Rishi had a Prime Minister who was busy spending money. And I mean, Boris was good at spending money, very good at many other things, but and he had to raise the money. So quite little bit rich for Jacob to sort of come in too hard. And then, of course, you see, really, theoretically, when a Tory race is on, you shouldn't really be having a go at each other. It's a bit like the barons being out of control, really.
Well, there's been reports that I must say I found quite funny, actually, earlier today, about, quotes unquote, dirty tricks. So there was quite a few of them knocking about, including, apparently, for a while, if you clicked on Nadeem Zahawi's website, it sent you to Penny Mordaunt's website, right?
Oh, right.
So someone was obviously getting involved there.
Yes.
Some talk as well of Rishi Sunak lending Jeremy Hunt some votes, apparently, or some MPs so he could make it, but knowing that he'd drop out. Is it all a bit dirty?
It can be, and of course, sometimes I think the stories are a little bit too clever for their own good, because it can come unstuck if you lend too many votes anywhere. But of course, you are dealing, dare I say it, with an interesting electorate. They will sort of swap around a bit. They will perhaps tell you one thing and do another. Has been known. And so I'm being sort of slightly sarcastic.
Yes.
But, you know, that's the trouble, you see. And, of course, the interesting thing now is if you look at the sort of the other, you know, Tom Tugendhat, you've got Suella Braverman and Kemi Badenoch. She's a bit of a wild card to watch, in my view, because she's very good, very able, a little bit different. Now, on the face of it, it looks like Rishi and Penny Mordaunt, you know, are the two for the ballot. But I wouldn't guarantee it, because you've got another 100 votes, basically, or 70 votes when Tom Tugendhat or Suella Braverman come out. Where do they go? Does Liz Truss make it up into third place, or does Kemi Badenoch just squeeze? And then, of course, we've got another 100 votes then before you get down to the last two. So lots of excitement yet.
Lots of excitement. It is gripping stuff. You can't look away from it. I imagine as well, though, that one of the big key issues here is going to be who does better up north, OK?
Yes.
Because that is a massive issue, right? The Red Wall.
It is.
Now, I'm from... So, Esther McVeigh, actually, is my local MP. Tatton,
Yes,
well, it was. I
that's
live
right.
down here now, of course. But, yeah, and before that was George Osborne, although you wouldn't know if you never saw him. But...
I did know him quite well, actually. Yeah.
Well, I'm sure you did. You knew him better than me. I lived there for 20 years and I never saw him once. But there we are.
I'll pass on the message.
I'm sure. Yeah, do. Yes, no, exactly. He's probably busy counting his money now, anyway. But as is indeed his right. But yes, no. But I'm convinced. I'm convinced that Penny Mordaunt goes down better up north than Rishi Sunak. What do you think?
Yeah, I think that's possible. And I think what would be good, you know, to go to the party with, I mean, it may land up even being sort of two women on the
It could be.
shortlist. And no problem there. But I think what would be quite nice if it lands up with at least one woman and one man on the list, because it then gives the party membership a little bit of choice, a little bit of different in character. I mean, Penny Mordaunt is a great woman. I mean, I've known her for a long time. She's very straightforward. And I think, you know, in this day and age, perhaps when it's been honesty and integrity that's been sort of in the spotlight, we may well need some difference. So it's really, you know, I describe the party at the moment a bit like the King John court at the time. You know, the barons are out of control. They're all vying for position. So whoever becomes Prime Minister, leader of the party, there will need to be a settling down process, because, you know, it's cost of living crisis, inflation, all the worries that people have got out there, we've got to deal with. And at the moment, we're contemplating our own navels. And, you know, after all the shenanigans, we've got to be careful. People need to trust us again.
Yeah, we do. We'll move on to that. But one of the things at the minute that I'm hearing, it seems to all be about things like tax cuts and the cost of living crisis. I'm not hearing much about immigration. And that's a massive issue for a lot of people. Is it just because they don't think they can actually tackle it?
Well, I think, you know, I mean, it's an interesting one, you know, sending people to Rwanda, because it's not, I mean, hopefully it's not women and children that will go, but it's just sort of sending the right message that, you see, because people are being trafficked across the channel, paying a lot of money to go in a very dodgy boat. So, I mean, the idea really of this is not to actually persecute them when they get here, but actually say to them, probably don't come here in the first place, because many of them are, you know, men looking for work. You can't blame them for that. But it's such a risk coming across the channel. So I don't think we're being vicious over that. I think we're just sending the message, basically.
Can I ask you something a little bit off topic? This, Neil, do you miss being an MP?
I do, yes. I chaired the Select Committee. I enjoyed food and agriculture. I did a lot of work with Fair Share to distribute food. Cross-party, when you chair a Select Committee, very much cross-party. So I enjoyed working with all sides. Of course, I also enjoyed perhaps a little bit too much putting sometimes our own ministers up against the wall and grilling them, and I don't think that helped me much with my debacle, really, in the end.
Yeah, I mean, look, can I ask you a little bit about that? Because, I mean, personally, no one's squeaky clean and we all make mistakes, so I think certainly, you know, I'm not sitting here judging anyone at all, you know. How do you feel about what went on there? Do you think you, for want of a better phrase, cocked up a bit, really?
I certainly did, and I made the right decision to go. Right. I just sort of a little bit interested in those that were making the judgment on me.
Yeah.
You know, one of the previous deputy chief whips, so Christopher Pincher. So, and of course, I didn't actually know anything about that. And you may sound mad, but of course, you see, when you chair a select committee, you get elected by Parliament. You don't go sort of through the patronage system, and so to a degree, I got on with my own thing, enjoyed what I was doing, enjoyed the constituency, but didn't really look over my shoulder at what is happening. Now, I shouldn't have done it, but I think, like I said, what I would just gently say to the party, you know, you do need to care for MPs, even when you take the whip away from them. And, of course, the trouble is, you know, you are left to face, you know, quite an interesting...
It must have been very difficult.
It was very difficult.
It must have been very difficult, and...
But I mean, I made the right decision. I had to go, and like I said, I still have a political brain on me, so it's trying to use that, really.
OK, all right, good stuff. Well, look, thank you very, very much. Really appreciate you coming into the studio and also for being such a good sport as well and answering everything right on the nose as well. So
most appreciated, and if you want me back to have some more riveting information about what's inside the party, please do.
Well, yes, I'll hold you to that. I will hold you to that. Neil, thank you very, very much. Neil Farage, of course, former Conservative MP. Right, we've got loads coming your way very shortly. Right, OK, we're going to move away now from the Tory talent show, as it were, and talk about army veterans, military veterans, really, because now members of the army have been criticised by a new BBC documentary. And basically what they're saying is that there were SAS war crimes that, essentially, I suppose, the SAS have been accused of running kill squads in Afghanistan. There's lots to get stuck into here because the documentary, which aired on the BBC, did actually use a video of Australian troops shooting an unarmed man and, quote, hearsay. So the Panorama investigation claimed that British SAS operatives in Afghanistan unlawfully killed 54 people within a 6-month tour in 2010. Well, there's a lot to get stuck into here, OK? A lot to get stuck into here. I have actually seen this thing and read a lot of the reaction to it as well. And I must say, I was pretty sickened. But as I said in my monologue earlier on, what level of investigative journalism do you expect from a corporation that didn't manage to unearth Britain's biggest paedophile wandering through its corridors for many, many years? But here we go now. We've got Big Phil Campion. We've got former SAS soldier Big Phil Campion joining us now. Big Phil, how are you?
I'm all right, mate. I'm all right. I'm good.
Well, what do you make of this? Because these are really strong allegations here by the BBC that the SAS is essentially guilty of war crimes and running kill squads in Afghanistan.
They're strong allegations with paper-thin evidence. They've got no evidence. They had the shadiest of Australian footage, which has already been used over there, been seen on the internet a million times before. So that doesn't hold anything. You've got a signaller who probably, you know, the operators they're talking about, their laundry would have gone further forward into battle than him. Well, he's hearsay. He can't say anything because he wasn't there. There was nothing. There was no substance to anything they said. You know, they've managed to find a few Taliban Afghanistanis, you know, who basically, you know, they went into these areas with the Taliban, found people who were Taliban, and have gone with their parting line. As Phil Shiner found out, and Phil Shiner, for those who aren't aware, is a lawyer who's now in deep trouble for fabricating stories and dropping our armed forces in trouble. They've done exactly the same thing, haven't they? They've gone in there, they've used people with no credible evidence whatsoever, no credible backgrounds, nothing. So, yeah, very, very poor, lazy journalism.
Yeah, OK. Well, the Ministry of Defence tried to claim anyway that this would put soldiers at risk. It would put members of the SAS at risk abroad as well. Do you think that what the BBC's done here could do that in terms of damaging our false reputation?
It's irresponsible. It's supporting hate crimes, isn't it? Do you know what I mean? You're actually, you're handing them stuff that you haven't evidenced, that you haven't found out is true, that is very damning. And if it was true, they could, the other side, the Taliban could potentially be very upset about that and want to take some sort of retaliation.
Yeah.
So they're spouting stuff that, as far as the law is concerned, hasn't happened. All right. So far as anybody has said, and the MOD has said, and anybody with any credible background has said, it hasn't happened. There's been an investigation by the RMP. They found nothing. The MOD has asked them to turn this off, and they've still run with a programme with a bit of Australian footage and a couple of lunatics making some shoddy statements. It's ridiculous, Patrick.
Well, I just think it paints a part of a bigger picture here, Big Phil. It's supposed to be the British Broadcasting Corporation, isn't it? And actually, I'm not sure they like Britain very much at all. But let's just talk to me a bit more about the way we treat veterans in general. I was at a migrant hotel, an asylum seeker hotel, because some would say an illegal immigrant hotel, to be fair, in Wickford in Essex. And we're going to be crossing over to follow up our big exclusive yesterday very shortly, fingers crossed, anyway. And it never ceases to amaze me that we've got, roughly speaking, 7,000 homeless veterans on the streets, people who fought, given a lot for this country, supposed to get priority housing, supposed to get priority mental health care, all too often don't, all too often develop other problems as well. And we've got room in hotels for people who can afford to pay people to get here in a dinghy illegally, but we haven't got room for people who've got catastrophic PTSD and maybe now as a result some kind of drink problem who we sent over the top in Iraq. It's mental, isn't it?
Nobody who served this country should be at the back of any queue when it comes to sorting them out, right? There are people out there with a lot of problems. There are people out there who are incapable of sorting themselves out at the moment. And yes, they should be at the front of every single queue. They have served. They've taken the prime of their lives and served this country in difficult and demanding situations, not asking for anything much in return, OK? And now it's their turn when they need the support of the country. And you're right, in many aspects, they don't get what they should have.
OK, now, very quickly, Phil, I'm just going to... because we're just sort of running out of time, really, but very quickly, lastly, you obviously were in the SAS. You were obviously in the SAS. And for a lot of people, I dare say the people in the BBC who made this quotes-unquote documentary, they will have no idea what it's like to be there, to be out front and to be, really at the sharp end of what is, supposedly a horrendous war zone. What's it like?
Well, this is the most shocking thing of it all. It's hearsay. They're going by, very, very shoddy evidence as far as I can see. It's not a pleasant place to be. It's not a great place to be. It's a very difficult, challenging environment where if you make one step wrong, you lose your life. You can do without this when you get home. You know what I mean? This is ridiculous, absolutely ridiculous. And those people that are pushing this issue would not have the guile nor the courage to go and make themselves in a position where they work like the troops that they're berated for doing so. Sorry, that came out a bit jumbled, but I'm genuinely very, very angry about this. That the BBC would be doing. They're quick enough to take your licence fee off you, aren't they? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
They're quick enough to take money off you. I'm telling you now, the BBC, if you're watching this, you're not getting no money off Big Phil. I ain't paying you. You can come and chase me for it, because I ain't interested in you.
I certainly would not be chasing you for money, Big Phil. I can tell you that much.
I don't watch them. I don't profess to watch them. And if there is a way that I could watch them, I'd delete it off my machine straight away. So you're not having no dough off Big Phil. No chance, all right?
There you go. All right. I tell you, it's probably about time we gave you a show. Anyway, former SAS soldier, Big Phil Campion.
The van pulled up already.
Yeah. Thank you very much, Big Phil. And thank you for your service as well, mate, as well, of course, former SAS soldier there, Big Phil Campion. Good guy, really good guy. Right, well, we're moving on, people. We've been teasing it a lot, haven't we? OK, we're giving you the very latest, of course, of what's been going on in the channel. We're going to be giving you an update as well from our migrant hotel, asylum seeker hotel. That's right, coming up after the break. Migrants. We are GB News.
We're right across this great nation.
On TV.
On radio.
On digital. Absolutely everywhere.
We don't talk down to you.
We embrace all voices with honest and civilised conversation.
We are not part of the establishment.
We're one of you.
And we're only getting started.
Join us on GB News,
the People's Channel.
Britain's news channel. Hi there, it's Stephen and Anne.
At breakfast from 6 a.m, you'll always be caught up with everything you need to know, the latest headlines, opinions and debates.
We'll bring you the good news and the bad, but most of all, we're here for you.
Remember, send in your views and let us know what you would like us to talk about.
That's because we're your news channel. And every morning at 6 a.m, it's breakfast on GB News.
My name's Tom Harwood and join me 9:30 a.m. every weekday for The Briefing, your one-stop shop for everything you need to know about what's going on in politics today.
I wonder if this is a deal that might need to be like the biscuits in this factory, twice baked.
Is there not an opportunity here to win out against the extremes?
Tom Harwood, GB News.
What are you going to do about it?
Things should have been done differently, and they certainly are being done differently.
Don't miss it. The Briefing with me, Tom Harwood, 9:30 Monday to Friday on GB News.
Where would you like to go?
Just take me to the studio, please, mate. You know where you're going. I've got a show to do. Friday Night Feast on GB News, 7 p.m. And it's like nothing you've ever seen before. We take a different angle on the week's biggest news stories. The viewers and listeners set me some absolutely mad challenges to do. We tried to rehome a rescue dog. And yes, there's some other wacky stuff in there as well. I feel like I could take on the world. Well, that's that. Friday Night Feast with me, Patrick Christie's, every Friday, 7 till 9 p.m. on GB News. Be there.
Coming up on Dan Wootton tonight, as the battle to become PM intensifies, was the Tory rebellion against Boris Johnson pointless? Spiked Online's Brendan O'Neill weighs in. Plus, can we trust any of the candidates to run the country? Body language expert Judy James returns to analyse the hidden messages of their leadership pitches. And as ever, there's opinion galore from columnist extraordinaire Rod Little and my superstar panel. Top Daily Mail columnist Amanda Platel, entrepreneur and activist Adam Brooks, and broadcaster Ashley James. That's Dan Wootton tonight, Monday to Thursday from 9 p.m. till 11 p.m. on GB News.
There you go, don't miss it, ladies and gentlemen. Dan Wootton will be up and about later on. But following our exclusive story yesterday, we've been inundated with even more allegations regarding asylum seeker hotels from places such as Harlow and Skegness, and all the way to Portarlington in Ireland as well. And here are just a handful of some of the emails that we received from you wonderful people. So you remember yesterday, OK, we went to Wickford in Essex, we did a big expose. That one was shocking. It's a hotel in the middle of nowhere. I say in the middle of nowhere, it's in the middle of an elderly community, and then it's got a public footpath directly leading straight towards a nursery school, and there's basically no security at this hotel. So obviously it kicked off yesterday. You all saw it. Thank you very much for tuning in, but you've all been in touch. And a service manager in a Northwest hotel, who I believe wished to remain anonymous, yes, fair enough that, said the majority complain every day about the quality of the food. They smoke in their rooms, stare at the female members of staff, God, up to the point where they feel unsafe. OK, well, that's according to a service manager in a hotel up north. Karen's been on. It is the same here in Ireland. 2 hotels are being used for asylum seekers, both in Portarlington and Kinnegad. Nothing has been done, and there are already complaints of harassment. God, harassment and assault on young women. Dear me. Ray spoke of a hotel in his area as well. There is nothing for the 200 young men to do. This is a big issue, this, Ray. You've hit the nail on the head here, because I'm obviously not condoning them doing anything certainly illegal, especially when it comes to women and stuff like that. Goodness gracious me. But give them something to do, maybe, you know. Anyway, since moving these so-called refugees into hotels, at least 30 of them have just disappeared, and that's a major issue. I've been to 2 of these refugee hotels now, and I could just wander in and out of them dead easily. Right, there was security there. They were the ones sitting in the smoking area, as far as I could tell. Paul has alleged that Harlow has a migrant hotel and migrants are sitting around on benches wolf whistling at schoolgirls. Great girl. Well, gosh, OK, fair enough. That's Paul's view. There's a bit of a theme here, ladies and gentlemen, isn't there? Graham has emailed in and said, we have 3 hotels in Skegness and we were not told about this. We are pensioners and do not feel safe. Echoes here, aren't there, of what's going on in Wickford. Why are they allowed to wander around freely? Alex has been in touch. Goodness me, loads of you have been in touch on this. They roam our streets in gangs. They were witnessed by me using women's public toilets. I reported it to the police. Well, you're probably allowed to do that these days, to be fair. I reported it to the police and nothing happened. And finally, Carl from Hampshire emailed in and said they've completely overtaken the town centre. Women avoid the area now due to the heckles. And as a gay man, I'm furious after the recent events in Sligo and Oslo that people who literally could wish me dead are being imported en masse. Well, it's strong stuff from a lot of you there, to be fair, but, you know, we are the People's Channel and we want to read out the people's views. Just that last one there, I can't remember your name now, I'm very, very sorry. I think it might have been Carl, wasn't it, who said... yes, Carl, there you go. Who said he is a gay man. It's interesting, isn't it? Because it's a really important point, that, Carl, because from where I'm sitting, a lot of the countries that the vast majority of these people are coming from don't tend to have the same norms and values as we do, right? What are women's rights like in Afghanistan, for example? What are gay rights like in Afghanistan? OK, some would say that's the reason why some people are seeking asylum. Fair enough, I'm sure that is the reason why some people are seeking asylum. But we are, as far as I can see, importing a lot of people from lots of countries that share the polar opposite of our kind of Rainbow Flag Brigade's ideologies. And I can't help but wonder whether or not there's a little bit of a misconception there, really, but there we go. We'll move on from that just for now, because we also got in touch with Mark Francois, who is the MP for Rayleigh and Wickford. That's the area where we went to visit that asylum seeker hotel yesterday. Now, he's confirmed to us today that he has now sent letters to Rochford District Council, the Home Office and the owners of the hotel. We will, of course, keep you posted. The number of people crossing the English Channel in small boats this year, just this year, has so far exceeded 14,000. To put this figure into perspective, in 2020, 8,466 crossed in an entire year. 259 people were pulled off 6 boats in the Channel yesterday alone by vessels from Border Force, the Royal Navy and the RNLI. And by 11 a.m. this morning, 101 people have been intercepted on small boats and brought to the main migrant processing centre in Dover Harbour. The weather has increased the number of boats making the journey, of course. We are going to talk about the weather very shortly, but I just wanted to say, ladies and gents, we're not going to be dropping this asylum seeker hotel stuff, the one we went to in Wickford there. I was very moved and very touched by a lot of the things that I saw, and we sent one of our reporters, I suppose, really, one of our producers, who was George Iberly, but basically said, put the whole thing together yesterday. It was absolutely incredible work from the lad. He's actually at a community meeting now, which I believe we've got a picture of that we can bring up. There we go. So from what we can tell anyway, and what we've been told, there's more than 200 people. I don't think that picture tells quite the full story. There's more than 200 people. Bear in mind that town where the hotel is barely got about 200 people in it, right? So obviously there's a lot of people there who are very, very passionate about it. There's a meeting going on there at the minute amongst the residents. They are fuming that they've not been informed about the fact this hotel is essentially being plonked on their doorstep. We're not dropping this one, ladies and gentlemen. We started it, so we'll finish it as well. But yes, like we said, OK, the weather has increased the number of boats making this journey. He's been sitting here for rather a long time now, listening to me prattle on. But speaking of the weather, there we go. OK, the UK could be set for its hottest day ever as the Met Office has extended its extreme heat weather warnings to next Tuesday. Already warnings are in place that it could cause problems with travel, and some hospitals and ambulance services have already declared critical incidents. But with temperatures rising globally due to climate change, people are being told to expect heat waves more frequently and that last longer. And here to talk more on this is the founder and senior meteorologist at the British Weather Services and author of Whether or Not. See what you did there? See what you did there? We are Jim Dale. That's his book. Get the plug in early, ladies and gentlemen.
Why
Here
not?
we go.
Why not?
Jim Dale. Jim, thank you very much. Hey, Britain's burning.
Not so much today, to be honest with you. It's a little bit fresher. The cold front went through last night, if you didn't notice, and it just slightly freshened things up for most of us. So if you go further north you go, the fresher it gets, and even in the next 2 or 3 days, not too bad. So we're back to sort of nice summer, but not come Sunday and Monday and Tuesday, because those are going to be burning days, you're right.
Right, and this is one of the things in this country, we never seem to handle weather particularly well. When you see videos of, like, Canada with the snow piled high up, kids going to school, Norway, places like this. I was in Tromsø in Norway once. They were running a marathon, right? Yeah. Everything grinds to a halt here. Why is it the same with heat?
The problem that we've got is we're a temperate climate for the most part, and we have been, and that's where we came from, and that's what we've existed in. So our infrastructure, our thought pattern, everything around what we do is geared to that sort of temperate zone. And when the thermometer goes in that direction or in that direction, we don't cope. We don't cope from if you like, from a physiological point of view. We don't cope from a mental point of view. the weather affects us in all different ways. Partly why I wrote the book. It's all about the impacts of weather, and I actually think the weather is the biggest impactor. The greatest impactor on our lives, bar nothing, our external lives. It guides everything that we do, from what we eat to drink to how we feel, to how, for example, sports games are played. Yeah, I could go on and on. Wars and battles. We've talked about vets and all the rest of it.
And also I think people's moods.
Oh yeah, without a question. I'll tell you what. Come Tuesday, let's say Monday and Tuesday next week, when the temperatures are going to be knocking on that record level of 37.8, we'll see who gets it. The humidity will rise again. The humidity yesterday was quite high. It'll be even higher still by the time we come to there. It does have an effect on us all, and it sneaks up on us, and it does. It's one of those things. It does cause illness as well. We've got to talk about that. It causes death as well.
It can do,
there's no escaping this. Think about last few days and lake quarries and things like this. Where the water is and the kids have been jumping in, and sadly 1 or 2 people have lost their lives. It happens every single time that people have got to go for what we would say is the normal thing. We live around 37 degrees in our own body. Once you get temperatures approaching that, there's nowhere for sweat to go.
Right.
Simple as that. So we overheat. If we don't do the right things, then we find ourselves in trouble. And of course...
Yeah. And it depends what you look at on Twitter and places like that, because, some people are like, look, this is just the summer. Some summers are better than others.
Yeah, and winter's cold and all the rest of it.
Winter's cold and summer's hot, right? Is this an extreme summer for heat?
Is it an extreme summer? Yes, it is. But what you don't do...
is that down to climate change?
Yeah, what you don't do is you don't take a single event, or even a week's event, or even a 1976 event and say, that's climate change. You can't do that. You've got to knit years and decades together and see where the graph is going. And if you look at the last decade and so, all of the... And not just that, we don't live in isolation. We're not a Wexit, if I can say that.
Yeah.
You get what I did there?
I thought that was very good.
Yeah,
it almost washed over me.
Yeah, OK. We're not on our own in this. We share this globe with everybody else. And so, for example, come Monday and Tuesday, even now, Spain is boiling, France will boil, and then it'll come to us. So we're all together, we're all in it, and we exist within it. So we can't distance ourselves from that. So this is one of those events that you can say it's a normal event, but not so normal if you start looking south and look at the records that have been broken this year alone.
Yep.
So that stands the test of time to say that climate change has got a little bit to do with this, and I think we can expect more of this and more of the floods and other things into the future.
Absolutely. Right, now you have brought your book into the studio. I wasn't going to mention it, but I thought you'd freeze me out if I didn't. I wouldn't want to rain on your parade.
It's a nice colour, isn't it?
There we go. It's on the screen. It's called Weather or Not, and it's Jim Dale. And Jim, I imagine very quickly, it's about the weather.
It's about all of the things we've just talked about, and so much more. Look, if you're a sports fan in any shape or form, you get some good tips about how the weather affects various sports, where you can put your bets and all of this sort of stuff.
Good stuff.
Health and welfare and all the rest of it. It's a lovely little number. Amazon. I think it's Amazon Prime Day today, isn't it, or something? One of those. Yeah, one of those things. You can get it on there.
There you go. Good stuff, Jim. Thanks for coming in. Great to have you on the show, my good man. Right, now, I've been asking you a question, a very important question, a bit of a shift in tone this now, ladies and gents. So I've been asking you a very important question about how do we treat our veterans? Do we treat our veterans well enough? I was calling for veterans hotels, OK? We've got asylum seeker hotels. Why can't we have veterans hotels? But Mick's been on. In this country, the authorities bend over backwards to appease foreign people while treating our own people like dirt. When we go abroad, particularly to the Middle East, we are treated like aliens. I must say, I've never actually been to the Middle East, Mick, so I can't really comment on that. Having said that, though, I do know a lot of people who go to Dubai, and they seem to have quite a good time, but I'll have to take your word for that one, Mick, I'm afraid. David says, well, if we deport all the migrants out of the UK, I'm assuming he means illegal migrants, there will be space and money to home and treat our heroes. Well, I mean, that's part of it, isn't it? I suppose if there was more space, there'd be more space for the veterans. But anyway, a veteran himself, Roger, says, hi, Patrick. Have you ever thought of running for the Prime Minister's job? I mean, have you seen the way I'm built, Roger? I don't tend to run very far anywhere. You would have my vote. There we go. Well, thank you very much, mate. I appreciate that. Well done for highlighting the plight of veterans and their usually forgotten families. I'm sick of it, Roger. I'm absolutely sick of it. You go into the military at the minute, all too often you put in substandard housing, OK, which has been proven. You end up doing the most dangerous job in the world for not always a huge amount of money. You come out of it with PTSD or something like that and you don't get the mental health care you deserve. You don't go to the top of a housing waiting list. And then 40 years later, you might get a knock on your door and you're prosecuted for something you did or didn't do in Northern Ireland. You know, I mean, it's not a particularly nice time to be a veteran in this country. But we've got loads more coming up after this break. My Talking Pints guest, well, I'll tell you what, it's going to be a good one, this, ladies and gentlemen. It's a mind reader. It's Graham Jolly. Stay tuned. We are GB News.
We're right across this great nation.
On TV.
On radio.
On digital. Absolutely everywhere.
We don't talk down to you.
We embrace all voices with honest and civilised conversation.
We are not part of the establishment.
We're one of you.
And we're only getting started.
Join us on GB News,
The People's Channel.
Britain's news channel. Hi there, it's Stephen and Anne.
At breakfast from 6 a.m, you'll always be caught up with everything you need to know, the latest headlines, opinions and debates.
We'll bring you the good news and the bad, but most of all, we're here for you.
Remember, send in your views and let us know what you would like us to talk about.
That's because we're your news channel. And every morning at 6 a.m, it's breakfast on GB News.
My name's Tom Harwood and join me 9:30 a.m. every weekday for The Briefing, your one-stop shop for everything you need to know about what's going on in politics today.
I wonder if this is a deal that might need to be like the biscuits in this factory, twice baked.
Is there not an opportunity here to win out against the extremes?
Tom Harwood, GB News.
What are you going to do about it?
Things should have been done differently, and they certainly are being done differently.
Don't miss it. The Briefing with me, Tom Harwood, 9:30 Monday to Friday on GB News.
Where would you like to go?
Just take me to the studio, please, mate. You know where you're going. I've got a show to do. Friday Night Feast on GB News, 7 p.m. And it's like nothing you've ever seen before. We take a different angle on the week's biggest news stories. The viewers and listeners set me some absolutely mad challenges to do. We tried to rehome a rescue dog. And yes, there's some other wacky stuff in there as well. I feel like I could take on the world. Well, that's that. Friday Night Feast with me, Patrick Christie's, every Friday, 7 till 9 p.m. on GB News. Be there.
Tonight, a Mark Stein special. For the first time ever, victims of the vax come together to point the finger at the government.
It turned out, within 10 days he had died of the vaccine.
She showed me her gums, they were turning black. Obviously we knew that something wasn't right.
I think the word is spreading.
The way that these people and many other people have been treated is a national shame. I think it is a disgrace.
Thank you to you, Mark, because you in the UK have put this issue on such a pedestal, and it deserves to be there because this is a national scandal.
Victims of the vax, tonight at 8 o'clock.
Yeah, absolutely don't miss that, ladies and gentlemen. That is going to be a really, a tricky watch, I imagine, but a good one nonetheless. But joining me now on Talking Pints is mentalist and magician. No, it's not mentalist in the same way as my ex-girlfriend. Mentalist and magician, Graham Jolly. Cheers, Graham. How are you?
Very well, Patrick, yes.
I must say, I've let the nation down a bit on Talking Pints this week because I've had, an apple juice, an orange juice, and now I've got a fizzy peach juice. So there we go. Can I ask what you're on? Is it just Coke?
Just a Coke today.
Just a Coke. There we go.
Something stronger afterwards.
You've got to keep yourself sharp. Now, I'm going to give the nation a little bit of a briefing about you, Graham, because you've had a fascinating life. I've got some notes from me. So basically, you're one of the busiest entertainers in the UK, a renowned mind reader,
mentalist,
a psychologist.
A psychologist.
Yeah, is that right as well? And you actually auditioned on Series 14 of Britain's Got Talent. I mean, let's get stuck into it. So, yes. What kind of stuff do you do?
Well, it all started about 50 years ago. I was a teenager, and there was two gentlemen on television, Al Koran and Chan Canasta. and I was absolutely fascinated. They used to do this mind reading. I wasn't sure if it was genuine or not, but I didn't mind because it was entertaining and intriguing. In fact, I'd love to read your mind.
Go on then.
Would it be possible?
I hope not.
I don't know.
You might have a breakdown.
This may not work. Patrick, keep your mind a complete blank. Not straight away. And Patrick, I'm thinking of a number between 1 and 100. I'm going to try and transmit the number to you mentally.
Okay.
Number between 1 and 100. Patrick, so we can all hear, what number were you thinking of?
5.
5. Was that the first number you thought of?
It was.
Patrick, just take my prediction, would you?
Yeah.
With nothing arranged, we haven't spoken to each other.
No, we've not.
You thought of 5.
I did.
Would you unfold it and would you read out each word from the very top, please?
Patrick will think of the number 5. I mean,
well,
look, how do you do it?
Well, people will say to me, is this coincidence? Is it luck? Is it probability?
Yeah.
To be absolutely honest with you, I'm not sure. But I could try something. Well, I'm not a mind reader. You're
not?
I would like... I had a premonition.
OK, go on.
Premonition.
Gosh.
A lot of men in my age do. Prostate problem. And... in my wallet, it's not funny. What's so funny? In my wallet, I always keep an envelope, Patrick. The envelope contains a playing card. I'll show that to the viewers at home, if I may. A playing card. Patrick, would you kindly keep the wallet in your pocket?
You want me to keep this in my pocket?
In your pocket.
OK, so the envelope with the wallet in it. So with the wallet.
Now, we're going to use a pack of...
So it's there, ladies and gentlemen. It's going in my pocket, yeah.
OK, I can do it on my own. Now... Patrick.
This guy.
I didn't mean to be rude.
It's all right, it's all right.
Trying to make things easy for you. Now, 52 playing cards. They really are. I checked them earlier.
OK.
Patrick, would you just hold the cards?
You want to just
hold them like that.
Them all, sorry.
Yes,
yeah.
and from the top, would you deal them face up onto my hand, one by one? Face up.
Like this?
That's right. Continue dealing.
Yeah.
And when you feel it, or feel some sort of impulse, would you stop? But Patrick,
so keep going until I want
this
to
is
stop.
important. Don't stop at a particular card. Just stop at a random position. So it's purely chance.
OK, any time?
Yes, it. Yes.
There you go. That?
You want to stop here?
Patrick,
do you want to go any further?
No.
No, OK. Patrick, stop.
Do you want me to?
No, I do, but never mind. Patrick, I don't like your attitude, Patrick.
Sorry.
I would like to... Patrick, you've stopped at the 8 of clubs.
Yeah.
I think you'd agree you could have stopped at any one of these cards.
I could have done, yeah.
You could have stopped at any one of the few remaining.
Sorry.
Called dry humour.
Sorry.
No, it's all right. But you stopped at the 8 of clubs.
Yeah.
May I have the wallet, please?
Yes, you can have the wallet.
In your pocket. It's in your pocket.
Sorry, I hope I've not messed this up for
No,
you.
you haven't. No, because the wallet contains an envelope. The envelope contains a playing card. And that card this evening, Patrick, ladies and gentlemen, is the 8 of clubs.
Fantastic.
But you know, I think it was Arthur Koestler in his ground-breaking book, The Roots of Coincidence, said that anything will happen, however unlikely, anything will happen eventually for the first time.
OK.
Like you could have a dice and roll it 3 or 4 times and it would come up with the same number. Just try this. We'll just take a dice. Just check it out for me, would you? All 7 sides.
OK, it seems
normal.
Seems like a normal dice.
Patrick, just put that dice on your hand, would you? Cover it loosely. Just put it on your hand. That's it. Cover it loosely and just shake it with your other hand.
Shake it with my other hand.
And just shake it around so the numbers are so the dice is rolling around.
OK, yeah.
Now, I have my back to you, Patrick. Would you kindly stop? Hold your hands like that.
Stop it and hold it,
And very discreetly have a look at the number on top, would you? And remember that number. Have you done that?
Yeah, I've got it.
So you have a number in your mind?
I've got a number in my mind, yeah.
Just think of it, but don't say anything.
OK.
Visualise that number on the door. 4.
Yeah.
May I have a look?
Yeah.
Yes, it is 4.
Well done.
No, but you know, let us try the procedure. I'll pick it up, Patrick. I'll pick it up.
Yeah.
But change the procedure.
There's not a rabbit in there. It'll be dead now.
Don't ad-lib. Now, Patrick, would you, this time, you think of a number.
I think of a number.
Yeah, you think of a number, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 or 6, and then put it on your hand with that number on top, all right? You decide what number you want, and then put it on your hand with that number on top, and cover it up, and let me know, please, Patrick, when you've done that.
I've done that.
Have you done that? Would you kindly concentrate on that number?
Yeah.
Now, I'm going to call out the numbers. I'm going to try and read your body language.
Oh, OK.
Micro-expressions.
OK.
1, 2, 3, don't give yourself away. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You're good at this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 6.
Yeah, it is 6.
That's 6. May I have a look? Yes, but you know, people say to me, this is all very well. This is all very well.
Yeah, how do you do it?
Well, I've got a feeling you're just reading my mind, which is an obvious solution.
Yes.
So we just drop the dice in the box.
So put the box anyway, just put it in the box.
There's the lid.
Okay, fine,
There's the lid. Shake it around.
Give it a little shakeroo, yeah.
Up and down, otherwise it just goes side to side. Yeah, it's an easy mistake, simple mistake.
Yeah.
Place it on the table.
Pop it on the table in front of me right here.
Patrick, you've no idea what number is on top.
There's no way I could tell.
Okay, so I can't read your mind.
Right, OK.
I have to use a different technique.
OK.
And the technique I use is called remote viewing. Remote viewing is the ability to perceive information from a distance. But I'm going to do it in this room, in this studio. And
OK.
I do it by leaving my body.
Oh, gosh.
It's hardly worth returning. Medical grounds. Here we go. This is not X-ray vision.
OK.
Purely visualisation. I see the number 6 again. Number 6. Would you have?
Shall I reveal?
Would you please?
It is a number 6 again. Hey, there
But
you go, ladies and gentlemen.
Okay, so what I've tried to do here,
I'll show
Patrick,
you just to prove it, but yes, it's hard to see on the camera. But there we go. Yeah.
You know, what I'd like to say is, if I may, the 3 I call them experiments, are using psychology and trying to anticipate how you'll react. But quite often it's difficult to tell the difference between that and what I call magic.
Yeah.
So I have a magic background. I remember the magic circle.
Yeah.
Gold star.
Oh,
excuse me. And let me show you a magic trick.
OK.
And then you can tell the difference.
OK.
A lot of people think, and
just,
it really...
Let's do, just to say to you,
Yes.
well, let's do this one.
Yes.
And then very quickly after that, because I'm getting shouted at.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I've got an envelope here, I believe.
I've got an envelope to give you.
And you've got something to give me.
Yes.
Right, OK, fine, OK,
Shall I
fine.
just do this one?
So rattle through.
Okay.
Come on, let's
A lot of people say to me, you magicians or mentalists, we think you mark the cards on the back. Well,
Yeah.
I don't. I don't mark the cards on the back, as you can see, but I'll be honest with you, I mark them on the face. Look at that, King of Diamonds, very subtle. If you didn't know where to look, you wouldn't realise that was the King of Diamonds, would you? Here's another marvellous example, very subtle markings, the 3 of clubs.
Right.
Now, what I'd like you to do is hold the cards. Now, there is a screen over there. I'll look away.
Yes, over
I'll
there.
look away. Oh, there doesn't.
Oh, what do you want me to do?
It doesn't
Okay,
really
fine,
matter.
fine.
Fan them as if you were playing cards.
Fan
Hold them up. Hold them up.
Hold them up.
That's it. And fan them. And remember a card you see. Just a card you see.
I'm just fanning them.
Yeah. And look at a card.
And look at a card.
Remember it.
OK.
Close them up. Close it all up.
Close it all up.
Yeah. Close it up. Just spread them.
OK, fine.
Okay.
Fine.
Good.
God, sorry, that was
you've
chaos.
got a card. You've got a card in your mind. Now, you remember the card?
Yes.
Yeah. Now, I did say that I don't mark the cards on the back. Well, that's true, but it's not 100% true, because I always mark one card.
OK.
I always mark one card. What was the card you thought of?
Shall I tell you?
Yes, please.
It's the Ace of Spades.
The Ace of Spades. OK, let's just run through the pack very, very quickly. And here it is. Patrick, we're nearly there. Hold your hand out flat.
Yeah.
I did say to you, I don't mark the cards, but I do mark one card. You chose the Ace of Spades.
Yeah.
Free choice. Very card over.
Oh, look at that.
Thank you so
It's got a
much.
cross on the back of it.
Now then.
Now, let's wrap up the show with what's going on with an envelope. I've been told about an envelope.
Oh, you got an envelope.
I think I've got an envelope.
Oh, you got an envelope.
Yes.
There's 2 envelopes. OK, now, one of your colleagues...
Yes.
asked you before the programme to draw something, is that
They
right?
did.
And you have it, and I wasn't anywhere near you.
You weren't?
I was nowhere near you, and you have the envelope, and you
Okay,
never
this
see
is the envelope.
And can you just confirm that I can't see through the envelope, is that right?
Well, I hope not,
Even
no.
from this distance?
I don't think so, no.
OK,
No.
now, I'd like you, if you would, please, Patrick,
Yeah.
to concentrate on what you drew.
So
Can
should
I
I
just,
just-
just think of it? No,
just think of it.
don't
Put the
remove
envelope
it.
down, think of it.
Can you just hold it there on your hand, and can I just place my hand above it? I'm not looking.
OK.
I'm not picking up any clues.
Quite.
I've got something there.
Don't know whether or not to trust you.
Has this drawing got any connection with a hobby?
Not a hobby of mine, no.
Not a hobby?
No.
OK. All right, keep it there. Not absolutely sure. Could you... I've committed myself.
You've committed.
Viewers can see.
You can
I
see.
Can see that.
You've drawn.
So, would you open your envelope and show the camera what you thought of, or what you drew?
Well, I, ages ago...
What is that?
Drew a boat.
A boat? Can we see
A
that
boat.
clearly?
There we are. Where are
Oh,
we?
that's
There
what
it
I
is.
wrote.
Yeah, how did you do that?
This is what I picked up.
This now...
But you know when you mentioned the envelope?
Yeah.
Because I've made an envelope, a prediction here, of the result of the next Tory race.
Oh, here we go.
Next Prime Minister.
OK.
Now, I think, to me, it's changing all the time, of course, really. It's very difficult to predict.
Yeah.
Because the public aren't voting.
OK.
So I could pick up moods of the country.
Yeah.
And I mean that very sincerely.
Yeah,
and,
yeah.
Friend, I was discovered by Hugh.
Can you pick up the mood of my producer? So
I'm going to hurry up. Here is the result. Here is the result. I'll give you a clue. It's between Liz Truss and Richie Suhard. There is the envelope. You can open it later on, not tonight.
Not tonight.
I think it would be unfair.
I'll keep it.
Unfair.
I'll tell you what, I will do. I'll keep it, right? Shall I keep it? And then you can come back on.
Yeah, come back on.
Oh,
Open it.
Fantastic.
Good. Thank you.
Good stuff. Look, thank you, Graham. Thank you. Stay where you are. Thank you
so
very much, Graham. Really, really, really good to have you on the show. I must say, what a cracking talking pass. Cheers. A quick cheers on the way out.
Do you know where the bathroom is?
Hey, there you go. All right, OK, we're going to go to a couple of your views for Barrage the Farage, I believe, if we've just about got time. What a talking pints that was. Let's have it. Right, OK. Sean asks, what is your reaction to Steve Bray, who keeps on interrupting live broadcasts on GB News outside Parliament at College Green? I'd make him eat his megaphone. Right, James asks, how do you fix the immigration system? Well, to be honest with you, it's got to be partly, at least, about deterrent. And at the moment, James, there is no deterrent, is there? Also, I think as well, we do have to maybe try to do some form of offshore processing. But also, as well, you know, I really just think we have to be a lot firmer. Britain does do its bit. And actually, when we've got people like the homeless military veterans talking about earlier, lining the streets of Britain, I think that's a massive injustice. But, ladies and gentlemen, what a rip-roaring show this was. I've absolutely loved it. And I believe I'm currently in possession as well of something that the nation would love to know, which is, of course, the next Tory Prime Minister. But coming up, it's the one, it's the only, Mr. Mark Stein. Stay tuned. We are GB News.
We're right across this great nation.
On TV.
On radio.
On digital. Absolutely everywhere.
We don't talk down to you.
We embrace all voices with honest and civilised conversation.
We are not part of the establishment.
We're one of you.